Before the light bulb, the world went dark when the sun went down. People lived by the dim flicker of candles, kerosene lamps, and gas lights that filled the air with smoke and soot. Nights were long and dangerous. Shadows ruled the streets. Work ended when daylight faded, and people gathered close to the small circles of light that fire could offer. To live after sunset was to live in half-darkness. The world had accepted that, until one man refused to. His name was Thomas Alva Edison, and his dream was simple: to bring light where there was none. But that dream would demand years of failure, endless experimentation, and a level of determination most could never imagine. Thomas Edison was born in 1847 in a small town in Ohio. He wasn't born into wealth or privilege, and certainly not brilliance. As a child, his teachers thought he was slow, distracted, and hopeless. He asked too many questions, interrupted too many lessons, and refused to sit still. One teacher even called him addled, confused, and unteachable. But his mother, Nancy Edison, saw something others didn't. She believed in his curiosity. When he was 7 years old, she pulled him out of school and taught him at home. That single decision, one mother's faith in her son, became the foundation of his greatness. At home, young Edison devoured books on science and mechanics. He built a small laboratory in the basement, filled with bottles, wires, and chemicals that often created strange smells and explosions. He was learning through curiosity, through play, through failure. And that curiosity never left him. By his teenage years, Edison had found ways to mix business with science. He sold newspapers on trains, printed his own small paper called the Grand Trunk Herald, and spent every penny he earned on chemicals and tools. He even set up a tiny lab inside a moving train car until one of his experiments exploded and set the car on fire. He was fired immediately, but Edison laughed it off and moved on. He once said, "I never did a day's work in my life, it was all fun." As a young man, Edison became a telegraph operator, sending messages across long distances with electric signals. That job introduced him to the mysterious world of electricity. He began improving telegraph machines, inventing new versions that were faster and clearer. Each success taught him more. Each failure pushed him further. By 1876, Edison had earned enough to build his own laboratory, a place dedicated entirely to invention. He called it Menlo Park. There, he gathered engineers, chemists, and dreamers to help him turn ideas into reality. It became one of the first true research laboratories in the world, a factory of imagination. He had already amazed the world with one invention: the phonograph, the first device to record and play sound. But Edison wanted something even greater, something that would change the way people lived every day. He wanted to create light, electric light, that was safe, steady, and affordable. Many scientists before him had tried, but their bulbs burned out within seconds or minutes. The light was too bright, too unstable, or too costly. Most people believed it was impossible. Edison didn't. He began one of the most relentless experiments in history. Day and night, he and his team worked to find the perfect filament, the thin thread that glows when electricity passes through it. They tested more than 6,000 materials: cardboard, cotton, horsehair, even human hair. Each test ended in failure, but Edison refused to quit. He told his team, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." After months of exhaustion and trial, a discovery came almost by accident. A filament made of carbonized bamboo glowed softly and steadily, not for minutes, but for hours. 1 hour, 2 hours, 10, 40 hours later, the bulb was still burning. For the first time, a small, practical electric light had been created. Edison had captured light itself. On the night of December 31st, 1879, thousands gathered outside Menlo Park. They came from towns and cities, traveling miles just to witness the miracle they had heard about. When Edison flipped the switch, the darkness vanished. An entire street glowed with pure electric light. People gasped and cheered. Newspapers called it the miracle of Menlo Park. That night, the world changed forever. But Edison knew the light bulb alone wasn't enough. It needed power, a constant, reliable flow of electricity. So he set out to build the world's first electric power system. In 1882, he opened the Pearl Street Station in New York City. It powered hundreds of lamps across several city blocks. For the first time, homes, stores, and offices could stay bright after sunset. The city never looked the same again. Soon, the electric light spread across America and beyond. Factories stayed open through the night. Hospitals became safer. Crime dropped as streets filled with light. Electricity gave birth to new industries and new dreams. The modern world had begun. Edison wasn't just an inventor. He was a builder of systems, a creator of industries. He founded companies that later became the foundation of General Electric. He inspired other inventors to imagine bigger, to believe that anything was possible with persistence and creativity. Yet, he was not without flaws. Edison was stubborn, proud, and sometimes ruthless in competition. He clashed with rivals like Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse in what became known as the War of Currents. But even his enemies respected his relentless work ethic. He once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." To him, success was sweat, patience, and courage. By the end of his life, Edison held over 1,000 patents, more than any inventor before him. He created the phonograph, the motion picture camera, and countless devices that shaped the 20th century. But none captured the imagination of humanity quite like the light bulb. When Thomas Edison died in 1931, at the age of 84, the world paid him a silent tribute. Cities across America dimmed their lights for 1 minute, to honor the man who had given them brightness. For that brief moment, the world returned to the darkness he had once conquered. Today, more than a century later, we still live in the world Edison illuminated. Every home, every street, every screen, every glowing window carries the legacy of his dream. The light bulb became more than an invention. It became a symbol of hope, of persistence, of human brilliance. So the next time you switch on a light, take a moment to remember. Remember the boy who burned down his father's barn chasing an experiment. Remember the man who tested thousands of failures to find one success. Remember the dreamer who refused to let darkness win. Thomas Alva Edison, the man who turned night into day. If you enjoyed this story of invention and inspiration, subscribe to Loom of Legend for more stories that shaped our world. Like, share, and let the light of knowledge keep shining.